We invite all who prepare to join us standing in the recitation of the Lord's Prayer, followed by a moment of silence. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Just now 7 o'clock. Shelby City Council meeting is called to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Mr. Crum.
Mr. Robb.
Here.
Mr. Roberts. Here. Mr. Gates.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Here. I will now entertain the motion to dispense with the reading of the journal from June 21st, 2021.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Robb to dispense with the reading of the journal from June 21, 2021. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Yay.
Mr. Gates.
Yay.
Mr. Martin.
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yay.
Mr. Robb.
Yay. That motion passes. Now comes the time for public comment. If anyone has public comment for City Council, please present it now. I do not believe that anyone in the chambers with public comment, nor have we received any at City Hall. We will move forward then to reports from standing and special committees. Community and Economic Development Committee met briefly this afternoon. Councilman McLaughlin.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we did meet briefly. Just have a couple of items. If you haven't seen the Richland Area Community Guide, I've got it right here. Just going to pass it around. Take a look at. Thursday, the opening bids for the Streetscape Enhancement Project. The new taxi driver started today for the city, Bill Burge. And at the library on the 22nd at 4 o'clock at the Black Fork Commons, they are going to have Jungle Larry. No. Jungle Larry. Yeah, the mayor is talking about that. But Jungle Terry at 4 o'clock. He's going to bring about 12 to 15 furry friends and reptiles with him. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. We talked about generation of Jungle Larry. I don't know if it's any relation or not. So thank you for that report. Any comments or questions for Mr. McLaughlin? It was a brief report in lieu of the fact that Ms. Scriven was ill today, could not be in, so that kind of shortened things up there. All right, thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Move forward to Public Works and General Operations Committee. Councilman Robb.
Public Works and General Operations Committee met on the 22nd. The majority of the time during that meeting was devoted to Ordinance 13, 2021. After much discussion, it was agreed that there needs to be some language change in a couple of the sections, and especially section 3, or the third section of that, concerning the storage of the trash containers. We decided that we would just kind of put that aside and bring our thoughts back to the next meeting and try to make some changes, acceptable changes to that language. So hopefully we'll be able to get that back on the agenda first part of next month. Also, Mr. Geis advised they're continuing on the design of the Black Forks Commons project, and that we currently have 4 houses under construction in subdivision, and at that time the taxi was run on a temporary driver, but I heard today at today's meeting that we currently, now we have a full-time driver, so that's been resolved. And finally, Mr. Geis pointed out an issue that we've been dealing with concerning vendors' license and permits for obstructions. They're currently using a section that basically is written for construction purposes and not food trucks or that kind of thing. And that's something we'll be taking a look at here in the very near future. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Rob. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Rob in regard to his report? Hearing none, thank you again. Move forward to reports of city officials. Due to the fact that I was gone most of the time from last meeting, I do not really have a full report to give. Although I think everyone knows just around the corner, we have Bicycle Days coming up here on June the 9th and 10th, Friday and Saturday, beginning at 11 a.m. on Friday morning. So we hope the weather will cooperate and this family festival can once again be in, I guess, post-COVID mode. Some of the things have, I guess, come back to somewhat normal. Other things are still restricted, but looking forward to a wonderful Bicycle Days parade on Saturday at 2 as well. Without any further comment in that regard, I would entertain a motion for confirmation of appointment of Lynn Wechter.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. McLaughlin for the confirmation of the appointment of Lynn Wechter to the Health Department Advisory Board to fill an unexpected term. Discussion. Mr. Gates.
Is that Monica Serrata's?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If I may make a comment, I think Ms. Wechter comes with a great deal of qualifications that really make her a great candidate for this board, and she served very, very well with our vaccination clinics, and just was anxious to serve on this board, so I'm very, very happy that she come before us.
She's very thorough.
Thank you. And I agree 100%. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Yay.
Mr. Gates.
Yay.
Mr. Martin.
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yay.
Mr. Rob.
Yay.
That motion to confirm passes. The next motion is to request a liquor hearing for the VFW Post 291, George Broderick, doing business as Ralph Phillips, VFW at 291 at 34 West Main Street.
I move to request a hearing.
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. Robb to request a liquor hearing for the post so mentioned. Discussion, please. Mr. Martin.
I am the commander of that post, and therefore I have business interests, so I'll have to abstain.
Any further discussion? Mr. Gates.
Mayor, this is a routine request simply to move from North Gamble Street down to West Main Street. A D4 license, in case anyone is interested, is for beer and any intoxicating liquor to members only, for on-premises consumption only until 1 o'clock a.m.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Nay.
Mr. Gates.
Nay.
Mr. Martin.
Abstain?
Mr. McLaughlin.
Abstain as well.
Mr. Rob.
Yay.
Motion to confirm, the request rather fails. Thank you. We'll now move forward to Mr. Crum, Director of Finance.
Thank you, sir. Pretty much routine work around my office. A couple things. First, we did the annexation of the two properties out on Smiley. It was granted by the Board of Commissioners. So Mr. Geis had informed me the process of that. So we'll wait for 60 days, and then we'll be asking one of you to sponsor legislation to accept the annexation. So that came in. Also, about, I think, 1:30 today, I got the email from the Ohio Office of Budget Management. To open the portal for us to receive our funds from the American Rescue Plan. Originally, it sounded like we were going to get those funds directly from the federal government, and then that process changed here recently, and so it's now going to Ohio and then to us. But we now have permission to create an account on their portal and get their funds, so I will be doing that tomorrow. And so I would imagine probably, more than likely, by next council meeting, we'll probably have those funds, or at least be very, very close to receiving those. And also, I've been working with an insurance audit company, and we've been going back and forth, getting them the materials to give us a quote, and so I will have that for finance committee next week. That's pretty much all I have for my report, sir.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Crum in regard to his report? Thank you. Now we'll move forward to Mr. Eister, Law Director.
Routine and not routine business in my office. Maria was not up to par and was out another week last week. She did come back today, so she put in a full day today. I don't know if she's going to be able to work 40 hours or not, so I certainly can appreciate your continued understanding in that capacity. But everything's going as well as could possibly go with her. Routine stuff in the law directors. I was the acting mayor for a week. No huge fires we did, except a resignation in the fire department. We did swear in a new officer for the Shelby Police Department, and I think we issued a conditional job offer to the fire department as well, in the mayor's absence. So everything was smooth sailing. I was hoping to have a little more on the McBride issue for you than I do, but I can say preliminarily, if you look at our ordinances 232, it says the law director has to sign all contracts required under the Charter Section 31. Charter Section 31 says the law director has to approve all contracts. I don't think the law director or any law director, when that was signed, approved that contract, so one would argue that the contract is not valid as it exists with the Shelby Little League. What you all want to do with that information and how you want to proceed, I guess, is a horse of a different color. And ultimately, issues of the ability to enter those contracts probably needs to be examined, but due to my office staffing was not be able to be completed at this time. So, if you need something further on that and how you want to proceed, then I'm open to discussion.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Eister in regard to his report? Mr. Robb.
In regard to the McBride contract, I would not be opposed to renegotiating that with some terminology that would allow public use during restricted hours, perhaps. I would not be opposed to that at all. So that's something that the park board wishes to do. That would be something that would please me.
And I would certainly say that the discussion should be had with the Little League and the park, because they may not agree that the contract is void. That's my legal opinion when it doesn't bear our signature, but if both parties don't agree that it's void, that requires a court of competent jurisdiction to determine the validity of the contract. So again, I think this council determines how far they wish to pursue that issue and ultimately what the desired outcome is. And I would suggest before anybody wants to go down that road, it's just an open forum discussion with the Little League and the park board.
Thank you.
Mayor, hold that thought just a minute, please. Mayor, I move the council go into executive session for a conference with an attorney for the public body, namely the law director, concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates to enter into executive session for the reasons so read, and seconded by Mr. Martin, correct? Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
Council goes into executive session at 7:14.
What's up, Doc? Okay, you wanted a game, huh? It's the Space Jam and New Legacy Takeover.
What is that?
The law director must go with us. That sounds Downwards with an attorney.
Well, it doesn't mean I'm the attorney you can talk with.
By charter, you're an attorney. Mayor, if you want to finagle your way in, I didn't request your.
Well, no, I'm fine out here.
Well, I see.
That was rather interesting.
Yeah. This is, she says, Mayor.
Joe.
So what brings you to council meeting tonight?
I think I had to attend the meeting for every requirement for Boy Scouts.
Oh,
Maybe.
Oh. You saw how they did it.
But we went to the city building first, so that's why we were late.
Oh, you
That's
are.
why I thought it
It's a
was-
few minutes like, no. Very good.
I didn't know where the meetings were at.
Sometimes the best is to keep secrets.
So. Yeah.
Do you need anything signed? Okay.
You just have to ask a question to a member of the government, right?
Will you please tell me an issue in that committee?
An issue? A negative issue or something we're dealing with?
Yeah, just something we're dealing with, I believe.
Well, probably the positive issues is a downtown enhancement. Trying to, as you heard, we're going to have a bid opening on Thursday, which means we sent out bids. Here's a project, and here's how much we estimate it will cost. And so if we're under that number, and there's several contractors that can win that bid to do the job. So that bid opening is going to be Thursday. It's Thursday. So that's a, I think it's been in the making for a long time now. So downtown's going to look a lot different. So
So is that for the second? Because this is the first stage of that.
and the first phase is streetscaping, yeah. Then it is
That's
park
still part of the
enhancements,
first.
and, yeah. It'll really start looking different here. Probably this fall, late fall, and then just
change Ohio legislators'
Other
minds
issues.
about goalies for the Blue Jackets. He was up in Michigan, where they just legalized fireworks.
Couple more police officers, one or two more.
Someone was shooting them off. He was in a hot tub. The thing tipped over and started whizzing at him, so he was getting out of the hot tub. And one of them came drilling him in the chest and killed him.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
That's the age of the force.
Couldn't leave that for a professional.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's, they have another vocational choice to make. So, that's what it is, at least.
I'll tell you later.
To the officer, we don't have force. Law enforcement's the never changing people.
Right.
A lot of pressures. So what's your name? Did I say Penna? Penna, okay. First name is like Fahrenheit. Just like that.
Yeah. Well, do you mind if I take a picture with you
Oh, that's fine.
too?
Yeah, that's great.
In case they want proof?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, that's proof enough. Yeah.
I'm gonna deny he was ever
Thanks
here.
for coming.
What's
I'm
that?
gonna deny he was ever here.
I know,
You
you
just-
tried to talk
Carpet
about
out.
Put the, there's a
so
picture.
they won't know. Look, see? They're always watching.
It's true.
Sounds as we can hear you, Can you sign it?
I'm glad we have an order.
Who's we?
She's the only one on there.
Saga, and my grandchildren are watching.
The
That's
calendar.
that's three.
That way we know how many
There's
people
only
are
one
watching.
person.
So,
Oh, that's
we know
not-
how many. So if there's only one person watching and his wife is making comments, that means. My wife is not watching.
Why isn't your wife watching the class?
Probably she's putting.
Oh, she's got 3 good reasons.
That's right.
get this, Brian, I'm not so sure if I have snack about 3 or 4 magazines, it's maybe on the bottom of the stack.
Do you? Yeah. I'm sure a few of the council members would like a copy too.
About 5 minutes ago. All right, City Council comes out of executive session at 7:35. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Eicher in regard to his report? I do want to say thank you also. I failed to mention earlier, thank you for stepping in as acting mayor. Appreciate it very much. Did a great job.
Thank you for having everything in order prior to your departure.
Thanks. Let's move forward then to Mr. Geis, project coordinator.
Thank you, Mayor. Like I said earlier, bid opening is this Thursday at 10 a.m. The downtown streetscapes. We're looking very forward to that. East Main sewer is complete except for the punch list items. Another reminder, paving is scheduled for late July, early August, and the City Hall roof, late July, early August. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Mr. Geis in regard to his report? If not, we'll move forward then to new business. Is there any new business that you're brought before council this evening? Hearing none, move forward to unfinished business. Future use of Main Street Fire Station. There's been no movement on that issue. Charter Centennial Timeline.
Nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. McBride Baseball Field, that has been discussed and discussed further in the future, I'm sure. Health Department state budget. You're all aware now that the bill was passed with an exception for departments that are in the process of accreditation or have reached accreditation. They will not have to meet the standard, to engage in that study of merger, let's put it that way. So we are continuing to move forward with our accreditation process, and we feel very comfortable where we're at. Just had a meeting of the Board of Health this evening, so I think our City Health Department is in good shape. All right. We'll move forward then to legislation. If there's, is there any other unfinished business? All right, hearing none, move forward to legislation.
Ordinance number 15, 2021, amending Title IV subdivision regulations of the codified ordinances of the city of Shelby.
Move for third reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. Martin for the third reading of ordinance number 15, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Yay.
Mr. Gates.
Yay.
Mr. Martin.
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yay.
Mr. Rob.
Yay.
Ordinance number 15, 2021 passes its third reading.
Move for final passage.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of ordinance number 15, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Yay.
Mr. Gates.
Yay.
Mr. Martin.
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yay.
Mr. Rob.
Yay.
Ordinance number 15, 2021 passes.
Ordinance number 16, 2021, amending chapter 1044, sewer charges, section 1044.02, conditions of service, rate schedule, F, production cost adjuster of the codified ordinances of the city of Shelby, Ohio.
Move for third reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin, a second by Mr. Gates for the third reading of ordinance number 16, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Yay.
Mr. Gates.
Yay.
Mr. Martin.
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yay.
Mr. Rob.
Yay.
Ordinance number 16, 2021 passes its third reading.
Move the ordinance be taken up and passed.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin and a second by Mr. Gates for the passage of ordinance number 16, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Yay.
Mr. Gates.
Yay.
Mr. Martin.
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yay.
Mr. Rob.
Yay.
Ordinance number 16, 2021 passes its third reading. Passes.
Ordinance number 18, 2021, establishing a temporary sewer surcharge for the sewer fund.
Move the ordinance be taken up to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin and a second by Mr. Martin for the second reading of ordinance number 18, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts.
Yay.
Mr. Gates.
Yay.
Mr. Martin.
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yay.
Mr. Rob.
Yay.
Ordinance number 18, 2021 passes its second reading.
Ordinance number 19, 2021, amending section 260.09 holidays of chapter 260 employees generally of the codified ordinances of the city of Shelby.
Move for first reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. Roberts for the first reading of ordinance number 19, 2021. Discussion? Mr. Gates?
Mayor, this is a result, as it says in the first paragraph, a result of law passed on the federal level. I know that Mr. Ensman had shared with me that there had been some contact regarding the Service Employees Union about it, and I'd had some brief conversation with the presidents of the Firefighters Union and the FOP, and what this ordinance would do is covers only those employees who are not covered by a union, because our union contracts are very clear that those documents cover all conditions of wages and benefits. And so if those unions are to have the holiday, there would need to be an MOU, a reopen or something with those. But this is deals with everyone else, so to speak. Putting the holidays in order, the fifth holiday, Juneteenth, that's new language. Down in subsection B there, in addition, it says the 10 holidays, that was 9 before. So that's the only new language in this ordinance.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mr. Martin?
I just have an inquiry to the parenthetical in number 5, and if Councilman could talk about where that came from.
Mr. Gates?
Mayor, it has a little bit of ancient history. Bear with me. My father, when I was a child, worked for Dominion Electric in Mansfield. And as a child, I was always confused when he would get up on the day after Thanksgiving and say it was George Washington's birthday. Well, I'm a third grader and I knew better, but what it was is that the machinists, which represented people at Dominion Electric, negotiated George Washington's birthday as a holiday, but it was celebrated the day after Thanksgiving, so as to have a long holiday. And so that's a little bit of the genesis for this. If we want to celebrate that holiday this year, it has to be celebrated sometime because Juneteenth itself is actually passed, and you know, this would provide for it. And I understand, for example, at City Hall and at the Utilities Office, people take a day of vacation anyways. So, and I imagine that in other places, if I'm a person and traveling out of town to celebrate Thanksgiving, I'm likely to take the Friday anyway. So that's where that came from. That just happens to be the day after Thanksgiving is November 26th.
Mr. Martin?
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
Ordinance number 19, 2021 passes.
Resolution number 39, 2021, directing the Richland County Board of Elections to conduct an election to determine whether .9 mil shall be levied on the taxable property within the city of Shelby for the general operation of the Shelby Department of Health.
Move the resolution be taken up and passed.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Gates for the passage of resolution number 39, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
Resolution number 39, 2021 passes.
Resolution number 40, 2021, directing the Richland County Board of Elections to conduct an election to determine whether .5 mil shall be levied on the taxable property within the city of Shelby for the general operation of the Shelby Parks Department.
Move the resolution be taken up and passed.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Gates for the passage of resolution number 40, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
Resolution number 40, 2021 passes.
Resolution number 41, 2021, authorizing the projections into the right-of-way at 12 High School Avenue and 51 West Main Street.
Move the resolution be taken up and passed.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Gates for the passage of resolution 41, 2021. Discussion? Mr. Geis.
Thank you, Mayor. These two properties, among others, applied for the facade improvement grant with our community economic development liaison. I did include these pictures of what these projections would look like. This 51 West Main Street would be these two awnings that would project out over into the sidewalk area. And High School Avenue, this is actually over on the Yoakum Law Office, but it would look the same thing when it moved over across from the sun tanning or whatever it is there. So I just want to take that picture to show you what it would look like.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
Resolution number 41, 2021 passes.
Resolution number 42, 2021, authorizing the mayor as Director of Public Service to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the purchase of a 1-ton 4500 series dump truck for the Shelby Service Department.
Move the resolution be taken up and passed.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of resolution 42, 2021. Discussion? Mr. Gates.
Mayor, on page 10 of the specs, it talks about the dump body, the hoist, and the snow plow. It's very specific, And one can be very specific in bid specs with the addition of a simple phrase, and that phrase is "or equal." So I'm asking unanimous consent to insert so that under dump body reads Galleon, Godwin, dump body, parenthesis, or equal, close parenthesis. Likewise down under hoist, male hot front telescopic hoist, parenthesis, or equal, close parenthesis. And for snowplow, the Snow Dog model, blah, 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 9.5 power V, parenthesis, or equal, close parenthesis. I ask unanimous consent for those three insertions.
Are there any objections to those three insertions by unanimous consent? Including the words in parentheses on or equal? If not, that will be added. Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Gates?
My question is this: to whom will the bid packets be sent? I ask that knowing that the farther and wider we cast our net, the better the fish we're going to catch.
Mr. Johnston?
Thank you, Mayor. I've been in discussions with a dealership in the Fremont area, as far as I've reached out so far. It's a Ford dealership. So I'm not sure how far we would, I mean, it'd be advertised, but that's as far as I've reached out so far.
Mr. Rob?
Are these state bid prices?
There is a state bid for a 4500 series truck. It did not meet our specifications. Our specifications are listed in the bid package with the hoist, the plow, and the dump body. Those are the specifications. But the bid itself that is in the state procurement had a steel dump body and a different hoist, and that is not what we want. We do not want a steel body over us. Within 10 years, you have to replace it.
Mr. Gates?
What, I know I'm preaching to the choir on this, but one of the advantages of competitive bidding is in fact that there are competitors who bid. Mayor, I would encourage your administration to send out these bid packs locally and however else.
We'll do our very best.
Good, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
Resolution number 42, 2021 passes.
Resolution number 43, 2021, authorizing the mayor as Director of Public Service to enter into an agreement with the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund for the acceptance of a flower and seed mix for the bee and butterfly pollinating field.
Move the resolution be taken up and passed.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of Resolution 43, 2021. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
Resolution number 43, 2021 passes. We now come to miscellaneous business. Is there any miscellaneous business to be brought before council this evening? Mr. Gates.
Mayor, I move council adjourned.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gates and a second by Mr. Martin for adjournment. Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Gates?
Yay.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Rob?
Yay.
That motion passes. Council adjourns at 7:52. Thank you, gentlemen.